Welcome to MasterMind Minutes, the podcast that focuses on the franchise industry. We'll cover topics that are important to franchisees as well as franchisors and share interesting insights that will help you build your business. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we do this in minutes, not hours. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhigrosso. I am the founder and managing partner of Franchise Growth Solutions. And as many of you know, I'm also the publisher for many years of FranchiseMoneymaker.com. As we tell folks every week, for those of you who are new to the program, the concept is very simple. Mastermind Minutes, we feature one guest. We have one topic or one question, and we get one expert answer. We attempt to do this in minutes. We never spend hours on it. And we realize that, in minutes, maybe you have some additional questions or you want to reach out to our guest, and that's fine. At the end of the program, we will give you their contact information. And of course, it will be listed in the bio of the vodcast, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can get it on the Spotify page. And today, my guest is Kim Collier. And Kim, who I met in Philly, and I think I originally met at the Springboard conference this past year. She is the Chief Development Officer at Ducklings Early Learning Centers, and she's been the driving force behind Ducklings Early Learning Centers since 1998, and led the charge to franchise the concept as recently as 2017. And I say the why as recently is because their growth has been really, really good, responsible growth, and she'll talk to us about that and some of the challenges they've had and how she's overcome that. As the Chief Development Officer, Kim combines decades of experience in early childhood education with a strategic vision for business growth, empowering aspiring entrepreneurs to join a trusted brand. Her leadership has been pivotal in expanding Ducklings' footprint while maintaining its core mission of helping more people have awesome days through learning disguised as play. And I absolutely love that, and I know the need for the business. So Kim, thank you very much for being with us today. I appreciate you being here. And before we get into the question, tell us more about your background in early childhood development, and tell us more about Ducklings Early Learning Centers.
Hi, Gary. Thanks for having me today. This is going to be a lot of fun. So my mother started Ducklings in 1994. She came to Ducklings because she was the director of the Youth and Child Care Program for the Kennett YMCA here in southeastern Pennsylvania, and they closed the program, leaving like 40-some families without care. So she bootstrapped it, figured out how to start a child care program of her own, borrowed money from my dad's 401k, and that's how Ducklings was born. She had never done anything like that on her own, but just figured it out, put it together, and rented space. And before you know it, had her own child care program. Within 2 years, built her own larger program, and by the time we franchised, we had 4 large centers, around 11,000 square foot each. I joined the program in 1998 after my first son was born, and did pretty much everything you can do in childcare, from changing light bulbs, working as a lead teacher, worked as an administrator for my mother, as an executive director for all of the schools. And probably in about 2013, 2014, we had undergone NACCE accreditation, which is where you document pretty much everything you do in order to move forward in the academic accreditation process. And what I didn't understand was we were basically writing an operations manual. You come out on the other end of this with this how-to mission statement, pretty much. And after being asked by just about all of our clients to expand, all of our developers to build more schools in more places, but really being maxed out as far as what we could do and where we could go. Um, we just knew that we couldn't do any more on our own. Um, that's where franchising came in. We
Yep.
got the idea to expand via franchising after going through accreditation, and we ultimately made the decision to franchise in 2017.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. It's interesting to me because sort of the evolution and the journey that your mom made through that process and you made through that process is the evolution of generally becoming a franchisor. You have
Mhm.
to well, first you have to develop a system, then you have to develop the system, and then you have to find the right folks so that you can expand into markets where you might not necessarily be able to go just because of manpower and capital. So it sounds like your journey in franchising was a very natural one. And I love that because sometimes I mean, we deal with hundreds of wannabe franchisors every year. And many of them, I say wannabe because they want to be, but they can't be because either they don't have a good history or they haven't been around long enough, or I don't know, some of these people, they don't even have an operating concept and they want a franchise. So for us, we're always on guard about that. Now, to kind of get into our topic today, which it really I don't want to be negative. I want to be positive. However, it's going to sound a little bit negative. And what I mean by that is your business, and we have a client in the same space. So your business is unique. It's not like we have a lot of restaurants, so it's not like selling hamburgers or it's not like painting someone's home. There are some unique challenges in that business. And some of those challenges are finding the right person that has the right culture and passion for what they're doing. You mentioned 11,000 square feet. I'm sure there's some real estate issues there. In addition to the fact that while it might be a crowded space, it's the type of space or it's the type of business where you can max out your capacity because you only have X number of square footage and X number of children and can go into that square footage and that sort of stuff. So, using that as a backdrop, when you first launched the franchise, and I think earlier when we were talking before the program, you mentioned that, correct me if I'm wrong, your first franchisee, you took an existing unit and sold the franchise, but then you had your first ground up about a year after that. So let's talk about the ground up one, because I think that's sort of where you probably face some challenges. Let's start with the real estate piece and how you're doing that now. How many units? Tell me how many units you have now, and if the real estate's sort of a big piece for you.
We are getting ready to open our 17th location.
Two.
Thank you. We currently have four corporate units, and Ducklings is full day fun and learning for children 6 weeks through 6 years of age. So we span that entire early education gamut. And the nice thing about early education is it is highly regulated. And, you might think, well, what's so nice about that? The nice thing is it really takes a lot of the pressure away. You just have to follow the rules. They're right there. They're printed out for you. You can find them on the website and you just follow the rules. They'll tell you state by state what the state ratio is by age of the child. Here in Pennsylvania, it's a 4-to-1 ratio for infants. So in an infant classroom, you can have 4 infants for every teacher. In a 3-year-old classroom, you can have 10 children for every teacher. So that just gives you an idea as to how you lay out a classroom, how big it needs to be. You need 40 square feet for every kid. So just drawing out a school takes a little bit of skill, but once you have those numbers down and you start working with architects who know the metrics and know the equations, then you can start making it so that it works, it meets regulation, and you can make it profitable.
Mhm.
All Ducklings locations have gyms, inside gyms. They also have libraries. They have offices for administration. We have to make sure all those things fit. In our industry, you're going to find quite a few brands that are like ducklings. You know, you see them all over the place. You see the learning experiences, you see the Goddards, the Primroses. These are big schools. They take a long time to get built. And this is the challenge. You need a nice big piece of land, and they're expensive, 11,000 to 14,000 square feet. With Ducklings, our initial investment for 2024 and our FDD, we were quoting anywhere from just under 894,000 to over a little over $2 million. And that was for leased property. We don't have any franchisees currently who own their locations. It's definitely an option, but we don't have anybody as of yet who does it.
So excuse me, let me when you say they don't own their location, they own the building, they built the building, but they lease the ground or they when
No, they lease the locations
you
from
lease the
our
building.
developers.
Okay.
Yes.
So they lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a big advocate of that, especially when you're starting out, because first of all, you're operating here in sort of in the Northeast, in Pennsylvania, and I'm up here in northern New Jersey, New York. Finding raw land is a challenge to begin.
It's a big challenge. Sure. Yeah,
Uh,
you better believe it.
yeah, so let's just kind of pause here for a minute on on this topic of so there's a system, obviously, there's the regulations which sort of feed the system that you've created.
Hmm.
And it sounds like there's a lot to know. Again, I'm going to go back to, some of our other concepts. I'll use hamburgers or pizza. Yeah, you got to know what you're doing, but there's not a lot to
Hmm.
know. Okay. Um, Talk to me and talk to the audience about this level of support and how, like, if you took me and I had all the right qualities, but I didn't know anything about it, how do you support me just on let's just talk about the real estate and the construction piece. What are you going to help me with and how are you going to help me?
One of the ways that we've found best to get started is our plan for growth is getting our locations started first. It has really helped us grow our franchise system in the best way possible. We have relationships with development partners that like nothing more than to build Ducklings locations and lease them to our franchisees. It's also helped us grow our franchise system in a way that is helping us keep ducklings. It's helping us support our franchisees, our earliest adopters, which are those people that you want to make sure are the most successful, because that's really going to help set your culture. It's going to really define how successful you are in the future. As a franchisor, what I've learned in franchising, and keep in mind, I didn't start my career as someone in franchising and find childcare. I started my career in childcare and found franchising.
Hmm, okay.
And one of the things that I've learned, and believe me, franchising has just kind of found a place in my heart. What I've learned about franchising is take your time. Just take your time, do it right. It's it's a marathon. You just have to just take your time, spend your time, make the relationships. So our development partners will bring us properties because they like to buy the land, they like to build the buildings to spec exactly what we want, how we want it done. They'll go to township, they'll do all the work for us and lease the properties back to our franchisees. So while these things are being built, we'll sign the LOI, um, we'll work with the architects, and meanwhile, we're marketing them as future Ducklings franchise opportunity
So let me just
available.
ask, you might not necessarily have a franchisee signed up in that market, but you've already started the process. Is that what I'm hearing?
Certainly, and it's really been a successful way for us to grow our system.
Right, and
We find that, yeah, it really cuts that time to open down.
that's
And also, it people are a lot because even though we have 30 years experience in childcare, we're relatively new to franchising. So the folks that are attracted to ducklings, they're able to see where their location is going to be. And they know instead of it taking 2.5 years before they're going to open, it might be 12 months. Heck, we just signed an agreement for a couple yesterday afternoon, and they got to like put their sneakers on and get ready to go because they're going to have a CO on this property in like April. I
wow.
told them, I was like, you better strap in, baby, because this is going to happen quick.
Well, I have to jump in. First of all, I love that idea. We used to do that years ago with restaurants where we would find a space and start building the restaurant and then market to franchisees. What I loved about it, and by the way, our runway was 4 to 6 months. If I just heard you correctly, you're saying your runway could be 18, 24 months. So
Easy.
you're
Yes,
you're
depending.
by
Mhm.
by collapsing that runway, I'm seeing a few things happen. As a former franchisor myself of several national brands, what I'm seeing is your pathway to signing a franchisee and collecting royalties is a lot shorter, and that's great. Okay, from the franchise sale or the franchise awarding process, you can now present that facility or that location to that particular franchisee so they know where it's going to be, in the sense that there's no hesitation of, oh, do I find a location before I sign a franchise agreement? And, you're going to help me and all. You're already doing it. So I love that because you're accelerating. Not only are you accelerating the process, and that's not the point, it's not about accelerating the process, it's about demonstrating and illustrating and giving the franchisee confidence and earning their trust because you've already written the check. Okay.
Sure. Well, there's that. You're eliminating that frustration, that initial frustration when there's that long wait, because we've talked about expectations in at different conferences where that the day that a franchisee signs their agreement is the best day of the entire relationship. It's the happiest they're ever going to be. And then things start to drop off because then they're waiting and then they're waiting some more. And then they're getting frustrated because they're waiting some more. And then why is this taking so long? So you're starting to eliminate some of that frustration. Um, then they're able to really see what their future is going to look like. Not to mention, we're able to control some of the variables. If we're able to say, oh, look, you're going here, we're we've we've started to plot what Ducklings growth plan looks like. We've worked with the developers. They've done a lot of the location analysis. They've worked with their realtors. We know it's going to be a good location. We know it's a good spot. We know what the area looks like. We know what the square footage and the rent and everything looks like. We don't need to go through all of the rigmarole that we will probably have to go through in the future once we've started expanding in earnest.
Right.
So, in these early days, it certainly makes things comfortable and it's going to ensure the future that we want initially.
No, I love it. I think it's a great idea. Well, hold that thought. We do have some other issues here we want to talk about. We're going to take a quick
Sure.
break, and then we'll be right back to address some of those issues. Hey, folks, Gary Grosso here, managing partner and founder of Franchise Growth Solutions. We're the premier franchise advisory, franchise development, franchise sales organization. What I'm here to ask you is, are you sitting on a gold mine? Do you have a restaurant, maybe one unit, two units, and you're considering expanding, but you don't know how? Perhaps you don't have the capital, you don't have the manpower? Well, then the answer may be to franchise your business. I don't know, we'd have to take a look. Get in touch with us. We'll do a complimentary franchise evaluation and we'll let you know whether or not your business qualifies as a franchise. You can expand it regionally or nationally. We'll show you how to do it. Okay, we're back. We are speaking with Kim Collier, who is the Chief Development Officer of Ducklings Early Learning Centers. And we've been talking about some of the rewards and trials and tribulations of opening up an early learning center, an early childhood learning center. Let's sort of shift gears here for a minute and talk about, again, I'm the neophyte. I know nothing about it. You've helped me with the real estate now. Great plan, great program. But now I don't know anything about the early childhood development or learning. Talk to me about training. Like, how do you get me ready and what do I do? Am I the teacher? Do I hire teachers? How does that all work?
Mm. Well, you do have to go through whatever it is your state requires for owners. Like here in Pennsylvania, there is a required training that all owners need to go through. And it's so that you can um, familiarize yourself with the state licensing, what it is that your teachers all have to have. All owners need to have full sets of clearances. All teachers need to have clearances, and it's for everyone's safety. Like I said, childcare is full of regulation, and we encourage our owners to stand behind it like a shield. It's just say, hey, it's not me, it's state regulation. All staff have to have their criminal background check, their child abuse clearance, their um, mandated reporter check. They need to have first aid and CPR. There's a gazillion different things that everybody needs to have. And as long as everybody has all of those little boxes checked, you're good to go. It's a matter of good record keeping, making sure that everybody does what they're supposed to do. We make sure that all owners training is just broken up. I think, and I'm pretty sure that thanks to technology, I think you'd be hard pressed to find that concept that is still doing like you have to come to headquarters for like 14 days and just live there. I I'd be surprised if there's any concept that's still doing that as far as owners training anymore. I know that we really have three different phases of training where a lot of it is webinar based. There's a lot of like online self-learning based. And then we do have 5 days of in-person here at headquarters in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They do it here at headquarters. We also have like hands-on at some of our corporate locations while they're here at headquarters. So it's broken up over the course of a couple of months, but it can be done a little here, a little there. We make sure that it's timely and it's pretty comfortable for our owners.
And what about when, again, I'm Mr. Franchisee, what about when I open? Or is someone from your staff like pre-opening, post-opening, like, we getting
Yep.
close? What happens there?
Sure. There's someone from our staff that comes out for a week prior to opening to help you set up your location and help you with your staff to make sure that everybody's ready to go. And then there's someone that comes out a week after you're open. Just again, to make sure you're comfortable, to make sure that everything's up and running, everything looks like a duck, that ducklings, that it's acting like a ducklings, to make sure that you're happy. We stay in touch with you. We do have a franchise management website that gives you everything that you need. And our franchise team is made up of longtime ducks. We did the math and figured out that between us, we have over 180 years of ducklings operating experience between all of us. So they can reach out to any of us at any time, and they're going to get their needs met.
That's
And
great.
also, because of the way that we're growing, right now we're kind of growing out of a central point, and really wagon wheeling it so that as of right now, all of our locations are the furthest one is less than 2 hours away.
Mhm.
So we can spend one-on-one time with our franchisees and go and meet them for lunch, go and hang out with them, bring them donuts if we want. Being available and building those relationships with our ducklings owners is the most important thing to us
Yeah,
right now.
and I agree, and certainly all of our clients and a lot of franchisors that I know over the years, the ones that are successful are the ones that there's the three C's. Okay, they make a commitment to their franchisees, they care about their franchisees, and they have the capital to support their franchisees,
Hmm.
support their efforts to support their franchisees. And that's very, very important. So, what I want to say here, because I want to get your last word on this, I mean, it sounds like, and again, I've seen franchisors, smart franchisors, successful franchisors take sort of a complicated operation or in your case, highly regulated, break it down, put it back together again, put a system together where you could take somebody like me and as long as I follow the rules, I can be successful. So, any last word on either the industry or on your brand or on just hey, if somebody wants to get into franchising or maybe even become a franchisor, like what are the things you would say, hey, this is in the 10 years that I've been doing this, 12 years, 20 years, whatever, this is one thing you need to know. What would that thing be?
Take your time. It's not a race. And don't look to your competition, look to your customer.
Mhm.
And your customer will tell you what it is that's important and what it is you should be doing. If you're looking to your competition to drive your decision making, that's when you're going to make mistakes.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's interesting. In our portfolio, we have, again, I told you we do a lot of restaurants. So we have like we have three pizza guys, we've got two acai guys, and I tell all of them the same thing. Stay in your lane, do what you do. If you spend too much time and energy, I mean, you shouldn't kind of know what your competitors do, but if you spend too much time and energy angsting about them, or more importantly, changing your plan and your vision
Right.
because they're doing something, you're going to end up in trouble. Okay.
That's
First
right.
of all, you're assuming what they're doing is better than what you're doing. So we got a problem right from the beginning. Okay. But if you're confident in what you're doing, yeah, it's okay. A few years ago I guess it was probably IFA. I'll close with this thought. Simon Sinek was the main stage. I don't know if you
Hmm.
ever listened to Simon. He was the main stage like speaker, and he talked about there aren't, the thesis was there aren't really competitors because when there's competitors, and if you think of it as a race and a competitor, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. But if you think of the other people in your space as rivals, sometimes they're ahead, sometimes you're ahead, but you're
Uh-huh.
not really out to quote beat them. You're out there
Right.
to run your own race. And that's what I think I've just really heard you say in terms of that, as well as being patient in the sense that don't go out there and sell 50 franchises in a year, or if you are a franchisee, don't think you can open 20 units in a take your time, learn the business, get your capital in order, build your team and grow aggressively but responsibly.
And remember who you are is at the heart of it
Yeah.
because it should be about you. And your franchisees become a part of you, you become a part of them. And that's what it's all about.
Yep. I agree. Well, again, Kim, if someone wants to reach you or learn more, what do they do? How do they get in touch?
Well, definitely check out ducklingselc.com. That's where we got started. And if you want to learn more about Ducklings Franchise, ducklingsfranchise.com. And they can find me on LinkedIn, Kim
Great. That,
Collier.
that's terrific. Folks, we've been speaking with Kim Collier, the Chief Development Officer of Ducklings Early Learning Centers. Kim, it's always a pleasure when I see you at events. It's been great having you on the program today. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Gary, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Great. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.